Okay, uh, weirder and weirder technical difficulties, but let's go ahead and get right back to it. So, as is the case with licensing, it's a reality that as much as the authors love getting their work out there and having the world to see it, they do also need to make money. And for that reason, they usually fan translators to stop translating their work. It's just a given. There are, of course, cases where, surprisingly, there are no um, publishing companies behind the author, where fan translators will pick up a web novel before it even becomes a light novel and just translate it because they find it interesting, even if it doesn't necessarily do well on Shousetsu or arcades hosting web novel sites. These novels you more than likely have never heard of or probably never will because, again, one such example would my death flag is a really interesting story that I
You got really quiet again suddenly. Just
did. I'll keep going on and just raise my. The death flag. This is one story where the author pretty much has or had no backing behind him, and the only person who took notice of his work was a translator known as Defiring. Defiring reached out directly, hey, would it be cool if I go ahead and translate your pen? Through several months, years, actually, he's now translated over 100 chapters of web novels. Oh, sorry. I should clarify that web novels are very different from the light novel format. Because light novels are very polished, each volume or book usually reaches about 5 to 11 chapters, and that's about it. But in a web novel format, you can almost do it in like a diary setting where you can release weekly, daily, monthly chapters. This story, Death Flag Show No Sign of Ending, there are over 100 chapters out already, as the story is over 3 years old. Um, but apparently, because of the help of the translator Defiring, the story actually gained a lot more notoriety in the Western world, and the fans of the story reached out to the author on social media. And today, the author just released about last month his manga version of his own story. Um, Literally just through the help of fan translation and very little, very little official channels that you would usually go through in order to be adapted. It's actually huge story for the light novel. It shows that the authors really do take in, take everything, even in the case with the author of he He appreciated the support, motivated other people, but gave him a with an illustrator who really, if you haven't seen the manga yet, again, it's Death Flag show no sign of ending. Sorry for the plug. I'm not sorry. I've named like 2 dozen 2 dozen stories at this point, both light novel. Yes, never apologize, except when you're in the wrong. In which case, apologize. But back to major publishing. So aside from the rest, get to read their life, that event or visual. Well, when the author is picked up, be it by mail or by contest or by again Susetsu, they get assigned a specific editor. Editors are basically your manager or your proofreader who guides you with criticisms and spelling mistakes, exactly how your story can go in order to make it more appealing towards the target audience. Editors are a very, very important part of the publishing company. Not only not only are they the first person to see the manuscript of light novels, they are more often than not some of the best of a lot of the author of Konosuba, for example, uh, has had his life saved by his editor several times. Where, well, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there because of Japan's weird weather stuff, they're always having trouble with their heater or waking up or doing deadlines, and it's a big part of the editor's job not just to look at their story, but to also keep the author's lives kind of in check. You know, make sure they're eating and not just writing a story. The editors are also the one who get them in touch with the people within publishing company who work with them on the light novel. Usually, these would be either contracted within the company or contracted freelance workers. They would have the connections necessary, like to have those illustrators who create character designs for what would otherwise be completely blank, fill in the blank images of how you think a character is going to look. They also get them with marketing and interviewers, and of course, they're the ones who cheer them on anytime they get into writer's block. They're usually like the right hand man of an author. Okay, I'm going to try to switch over back to my phone to see if the camera will work and if the audio is good. So go ahead and ask some questions while I figure that out. This would be the time that I'm stalling, 'cause I don't know what to say. Something, something, something stalling. Nothing on my mind today. Is actually the light novel that got me into the entire community in the first place. No Game, No Life.
Oh,
Also my favorite animes, if that's not extremely obvious. No Game, No Life was very open-ended when it first came out in, gosh, 2013? Wow, that was a long time ago. And it was Akatsuki who translated No Game, No Life. And I was able to see a bit of the continuation of how the story plays out. And let me just say, some tears were shed, and there's a lot of things to look forward to in season two, whenever it comes out. Okay, I'm testing again. Is the audio still kind of weird? Audio check, video check. Kill me with cringe. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'll go ahead and go to the very last part of the panel, which would be, well, it's still about the publishing company and how it gets, but it's specifically about what the title is all about, how do light novels become anime. Now, it's actually very interesting how the explain the person who gets the author their connections also introduces them to other authors. A lot of times, authors will get advice from senior writers who pretty much change the way their story is told. Uh, a good example of this being Konosuba. The author of Konosuba actually became good friends with the author of ReZero when they were both picked up to become light novel writers instead of just web novel writers. And he's specifically mentored by the Overlord author. I think you're going to see where the connection lies here. And their other mentor is the author of the Saga of of them eventually decided, hey, we're all good friends. Well, sorry, two of us are good friends. Two of you are legends with an extremely complicated writing style. Tiny people. And wouldn't it be cool if we went ahead and did something just for fun, where we all collaborated? And who was the one who did our local fan translations? Ah, yeah, Sky the Wood. And who picked it up when it got localized? Yen Press, not Seven Seas or J Novel Club. Let's get. Uh, and of course, this publishing company has a specific contract with Kadokawa, Kadokawa Studios, and I believe there is a Kadokawa publishing company as well. I'm not entirely sure if it's the same one. Kadokawa has been the producer of series like Date Life, also good light novel series related to that. Very cool. But the biggest with these connections being made all throughout the major publishing company, there are those contacts, right? Where um, usually if the localization team is the same, like US by Yen Press or J Novel Club or the Seven Seas official translators, they're usually also translated. They're also usually contracted with the same animation studios, which is interesting. And those animation studios would then look towards, again, the major publishing companies, but they would also sometimes feedback of the fan translation community. It's it's really incredible how everything goes from a simple amateur writer, usually in high school or college level, and he gets noticed, he or she gets noticed by someone, and they decide, hey, your story is worth sharing. They take it. Sometimes it gets polished into a full light novel, adapt. Sometimes it's just picked up by a random fan who thinks, you know, you were passed over by the rest of the Japanese world, but I think there's something here that the rest of the world might like. And again, it would still follow the same path where it would eventually become adapted for the rest of the world to appreciate. And no matter which medium you prefer, it's always important to know, to appreciate stories get their origin. Whether it starts first as an anime or starts first as a visual novel or whatever, all of these stories start from someone who just wants to tell a story. And if enough like-minded people feel the same way, then it just spreads. And there's nothing better than so I believe that should be the end of my panel. I'm surprised I actually made it towards an hour, even if technically I had several difficulties with the whole setup here. For the last time, does anyone have any questions or anything they want to talk about regarding light novels or any questions about uh, yes, there are cases where novels get picked up just because someone translated it first. Um, it's not as uncommon as you think, and a lot of times it's actually really funny when it happens. You guys don't have to die. I know I did a half decent job. It's okay. Also, I'm pretty sure since the end of the silence is really uncomfortable. I was really not expecting to be the only one talking for an hour. Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. Dinner is the most important meal of the day, except for breakfast and lunch, except for dinner. Call me sensei or Hoen Gyoma. No, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. Please don't call me sensei. I cannot hear you. That is weird. I'm gonna turn my camera off now because I probably don't need it. So thanks for joining for the panel, and hope everyone gets a good rest before the next one with Jacob. Have a good night.